So I'm going to bring our panelists up for our discussion about the power and possibility of Black media. And this is really an important conversation, and one that I think is incredibly timely for this moment. And we have 3 of the only remaining Black-owned talk radio stations in the country, convened here in the same room. And right now, I want to invite Melody Spann-Cooper, who is the chair and CEO of Midway Broadcasting Corporation, Chicago's only Black and female-owned broadcasting company. Come on, Melody. You can sit wherever you want. We're freestyling. And we also have Tavis Smiley in the room. Tavis Smiley is a broadcaster extraordinaire. He's an author, publisher, advocate, and philanthropist. And, you know, a lot of us have heard Tavis. Tavis is now syndicated on WURD. His show airs from 9 p.m. to midnight on WURD, and it is a phenomenal show. Melody and I were like fangirling over Tavis's show not long ago. Can we put our on-air graphic up? So this is supposed to be like a radio studio.
Okay.
This was my idea, to try and create this like radio studio theme. And we're leaving this 4th chair open because Reverend Al Sharpton is somewhere in the vicinity, and so we're hoping that he will manifest. And so we're going to keep that hope alive. So, that light is something else. So, this is WURD's 20th anniversary celebration, right? And so what better way to punctuate a milestone birthday like this than to bring together 3 of the only other remaining Black-owned talk radio stations so that we can have a conversation about what this process is like. And I want to start with you, Melody, because Tavis is the baby of the bunch. He bought his station in 2020, right? 2021. So you got 2 years in. Nice. Okay. That says, you got a long way to go. So, but you've got a long history in radio and TV and other things. But Melody has 60 years. WVON in Chicago is 60 years old. So I'm going to start with you because Melody is kind of like my mentor, my like comrade in arms. And when I get stuck and when I'm like, yo, I don't know what to do, I'm like, Melody, what do you think? So I want to ask you, Melody, what has been the key to your longevity? 60 years, I mean, that's 3 times what we're celebrating. I'm like thrilled that we got 20 under our belt.
Yeah, well, Tavis and I were looking at all them sponsors. We think you did okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Think you did okay.
Yeah.
And you should have. Congratulations.
Thank
so
you.
Honored to be here with you. So just want to level set. Another reason why we bonded, I too am a 2nd generation owner. My father was a legendary disc jockey in Chicago, Purvis Spann, the blues man, who went on to own the company he worked for. And so VON went on the air April 1st, 1963 as the voice of the Negro. Mm-hmm. And the reason that is sustaining and the reason that we were able to survive is that we never lost our mission. We've been the voice of Black Chicago. You know, during the Great Migration, Chicago was 1.2 million Black folks, right? That's how you get an early black mayor. That's how you get the first black female U.S. senator, and that's how you get a president of the United States. Is strong community and a voice like WVON agitating, and an audience that needs it and that supports it. And so, I always tell people, and when Tavis got started, you won't be in the world of radio. You probably won't be the #1 radio station in the marketplace. But the impact that you have and the work that you can do and how you can move your people to power is what sustains us and what gets us up and keeps us creative every day. So that is why WVON is still on the air. I just want to add older than me, just a little bit, okay? I just want y'all to, I want y'all to understand that portion. But that's what keeps it strong and relevant.
Yeah. So Tavis, I want to ask you because, 2021, people were pronouncing radio dead, and AM radio like super dead, like really, really dead. So what made you want to buy a radio station in 2021 when there were so many other platforms that you could tap into, podcasts and digital and all of those things? So why talk radio?
It's a good question. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I will say, if I can, though, upon a personal privilege, I want to just start as Melody did by just congratulating WURD and the Lomax family on this 20th anniversary. It was impossible to be in this room and to listen to the honorees, and congratulations to every one of them, but impossible to listen to them and not be moved by the love and service that they have given to this city through WURD, but to your father for his vision and the entire Lomax family. It's quite a thing to celebrate. As Sara mentioned earlier, I am the baby of the bunch in this regard. We're just 2.5 years in, and I was telling Melly, I don't know how y'all got to 20, don't know how you got to 60.
I don't either.
Because it is a struggle. I've been fortunate, as most of you know, to do a lot in my career, from New York Times best-selling books to honorary doctorate degrees and cover of Time magazine, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and all of that stuff. No, I didn't. Thank you. I didn't say it for that reason. I say that because all of that pales in comparison to the difficulty of building and growing a black-owned talk radio station. It is not for the faint of heart. And in LA, there are almost 200 radio stations.
Wow.
So it's a very competitive market. It's a tough market. And to try to break through something that's never been done before, I mean, our station is the only black-owned talk radio station west of the Mississippi. That's a whole lot of space to have one African-American-owned talk radio station. So I wanted to celebrate WURD. This is not an easy thing to do. That's a long time to love and serve our people. And I certainly want to just congratulate the Lomax family and WURD for all this great work. With regard to why I did what I did, it's in part because I believe that sometimes, Sara, we have to assign ourselves. Sometimes we have to assign ourselves to do those things that need to be done that nobody else has, for whatever reason, decided to do. And I would say this, I wouldn't advise anybody to do it the way I did it. I mean, to your point, I decided to buy a station in the middle of a pandemic, something that had never been done before in LA. So everything about this was wrong. And when I bought the station, it was a Spanish language Christian station. So you buy in a pandemic, you're trying to turn it into a black talk station that's never been done before. And you buy a Spanish language station, which Sara and Melody understand. She's laughing already. That means on day one, you ain't got no advertisers. Because it's Spanish and it's Christian and you're doing something totally different. So we literally started in a pandemic doing something that had never been done before with no advertising base. And here we are 2.5 years later, pushing toward our 3rd anniversary. So it's working out. It's working out. All the indicators are pointing in the right direction. But I echo what Melody said. And again, I celebrate, VON. 60 years is just mind-boggling for me. And her father is iconic in the city of Chicago. I think that black media now, not just black radio, to your question, black media now is more relevant and more necessary than ever before. If I had the time, I'd get into this, but I think you take my point, that there's some questions that we ask that other folk just don't ask. There's some issues that we raise in black radio that other folks just don't raise. There's some folk who are doing amazing work in our communities that if we don't profile them, nobody else will.
Right.
And there are a number of conversations, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are a number of conversations happening in America right now, a number of conversations happening in the world right now, that if you don't hear a different perspective on black radio, you're not hearing that perspective at all. I'll just leave it there, because I know you know what I'm talking about. But there's a role that we play that corporate media, that mainstream media, just does not play. And so the value and worth of black media, I think now, is more relevant and more necessary than ever. So I don't regret the decision I made when I made it, but it's a steep, steep climb. And again, I celebrate what you and Melody have done, because it ain't easy to do.
That's for sure. So I want to stay there for just a minute, because I was doing a little bit of research, and you know, the talk radio format is really dominated by like white conservative, you know, Christian media, and at least 15 million Americans every week tune into one of the top 15 talk radio programs, and they are not black talk radio. No. And I'm wondering, like, why does kind of the Republican, the white establishment, that right-wing establishment, recognize the incredible power and value of talk radio, but we don't see that on the progressive or the liberal side? Because, you know, like you said, Tavis, like, we all sitting up here know how hard it is to stay alive in these formats, but yet on the other side, you see money like pouring in. Rush Limbaugh was a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
So like, what do we need to do to kind of, I don't know, figure out how, or why is there that humongous disparity?
So I think you really have to understand it from a historical perspective. We, from 1619, from the time we landed here, we were not brought here to think. We were brought here to work. And so you listen to every major city in this country, and you go to these where there's predominantly a black audience, most likely the #1 station there, the #1 music station is African American. Because we've been taught to step in Chicago. They don't step themselves to the, you know, but you gotta understand, that's what we were fed. We were fed a diet of entertaining and entertainment. And so you come along and you start thinking. The reason that Rush Limbaugh and so many of the right-wingers they got them thinking. They got them, this is power. What you're doing at WURD is power. You got a black female mayor in this city now. I want to think you had something to do with that, right? But you got to understand, when you've been fed a diet of that for 200 or 300 years, when you come and Tavis wants to start a talk radio, everybody in LA ain't gonna turn it on, because that's not what we're accustomed to. But I remember Dr. King so vividly saying this, even when he was alive, when you hear, the majority of black folks wasn't with Dr. King. They were with him when he died, when he was dead. But when he was making a difference across this country. And so I'm okay with not being #1. Of course I want to be #1, right? Because with #1 comes a whole bunch of money. But the social impact that we are able to, and the difference we're able to make for our communities. I mean, we don't get enough credit for the work that we do in making a difference for our communities. And so it is something that we are married to, obviously. But I want to say, talk radio, black talk radio gets better when Tavis Smiley gets on the microphone. And the reason it gets better when Tavis gets on the microphone, and when Tavis now owns a radio station, 2 reasons. #1, people know him. He ain't afraid. He's gonna talk, and Tavis is talk. And now he don't have to worry about nobody firing him, not signing his contract or nothing, because he's paying himself, right? And so that's a very powerful position to have someone in and not have to be concerned, not that he was ever concerned. I was just sitting in the corner we talked about how good his show is. And he said, you know, I got Jada Pinkett next week. Now, Jada Pinkett ain't gonna ever find URD and VON, but she got us now, right?
Right.
And so as we continue to build this momentum, and not only that, take him into these corporations who are not spending money. It's different when Tavis shows up. It's different when Sharpton shows up. It's different when we are allowed to go into these corporations and say, hey, you're spending $500 million in advertising and we're not getting any of it. That's a game changer, right? And so I'm feeling optimistic about it. You know, I told Sara this, I said, you know, it's a different girl and the one that has to cash a check than the one that has to create it, right? And so we'll be fine. We're gonna keep. Now we might be in the same room next year for the 21st anniversary with all those sponsors. Right? I'm mad now I didn't celebrate my 60th that way. I think I'm gonna celebrate my 61st. But we have to feel optimistic, and that's why it happens, because they are so married to their messaging, and we have to be as committed and married to our messaging.
So I wanna follow up on what Melody's saying and ask you, Tavis, because obviously you had some of the biggest platforms in the country, you know, and so how is it for you to, now you own and you control all of this content and how you do what you do, and you have that autonomy, but you don't necessarily have the same kind of platform that you had before. Like, so how does that change what you do, how you do it, and just.
Yeah, I don't think it in any way changes the truth that you tell, number one, and number two, we're building it, so it's just a matter of time. We'll get there, back to that same level and that same platform. So it just takes time. But just to build on what Melody said a moment ago, I think one of the reasons, and I always refer to talk radio in this country, you put it nicely, let me be more exact. It's a conservative citadel. Talk radio in this country is what I call a conservative citadel. And the reason why there's a disconnect between what we do and what they do is because they every day are preaching to the choir. If you want to have your worldview reinforced every single day, then you listen to that conservative citadel. If you want your worldview reinforced every day, you watch Fox News. They're preaching to the choir. They're reinforcing people's worldview. Our role is very different. Our role is that of being a truth teller.
Yeah.
No matter where the chips may fall, the value of black media is to be a truth teller. I believe that it is the telling of truth that allows the suffering to speak. And if nobody ever tells the truth, then the suffering gets rendered invisible. So as long as nobody is attempting to tell the truth, then the suffering of our people and folk around the globe gets rendered invisible. So we're not about preaching to the choir, singing from the same hymn book. It's about telling the truth, whatever that truth may be. And sometimes when you tell the truth, you have to fight with your friends. That just means that, you know, just because you're a Democrat don't mean I'm going to agree with you. Just because you're this, that, or the other doesn't mean we're always going to agree. Sometimes we have to fight amongst our friends. We do that in love. I don't believe there's anything we ever have to say to any other human being, ever. Not easy. There's nothing we ever have to say to another human being that we can't find a way to say or do in love. So as black folk, we do it in love. But it's really about a search for the truth. And so I believe that black radio at its best is about seeking the truth and speaking the truth and standing on the truth and staying with the truth. Black media at its best is about having the courage to say what it is that we see. It's a very different calling, a very different vocation than what we see in conservative radio. So I think that that's what makes us stand out. I would just add this too. Melody made a point a couple times about money, some funny and not so funny. But she's always serious about that money, and I ain't mad at her. But here's the reality, and everybody knows this. We talk about it on our show. They talk about it on VON. They talk about it on URD and beyond. But we live in a nation now where the data is incontrovertible. We all know it's just a matter of time before, for the first time ever in this country, America will be a minority country. We're just a few years away from the first time ever where the good white folk will be outnumbered collectively by people of color. Now, the question that raises is, how does America deal with that? It's somewhat akin to what happened in South Africa. Of course, as we all know, the black South Africans always outnumbered the white South Africans. But there were all kinds of questions about what would happen when these black folk and the ANC took over control of South Africa politically. Would they treat the white folk the way the white folk had treated them? And we all know the great work of Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela and the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and all that black folk did, these black Africans did at their best to show the world who we were and who we are. But America is having its own reckoning a few years from now. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a reckoning in this country where people of color will finally outnumber our white brothers and sisters, our white fellow citizens. Why do I say that? Glad you asked. I say that because at some point, corporate America, and this is why I'm with Melody, I just wanted to put a finer point on it. This is why I'm bullish, and this is why I got in, even in the middle of a pandemic, because I can see, was it Hezekiah who saw the writing on the wall? I can see the writing on the wall. It's just a matter of time before corporate America figures out that the country is more colored now than it is white. Mm-hmm. And if you are a content producer, if you are a product producer, and you ain't figured that out sooner than later, then you're going to be out of business. You're going to bankrupt yourself if you stay stuck on stupid about how the demographics in the country are changing. So this is an uphill battle, Sara. It's a fight. And again, I celebrate 20 years at URD and 60 at VON. But for those of us who are just getting in this and starting to figure this out, it's just a matter of time before the demographics change, which means the whole situation and conversation has to change. So again, I feel bullish about this as well for those reasons and beyond.
So I hear you, and so this was supposed to be a round robin. You guys are supposed to ask me some questions too.
You're doing so well, though.
That's all right.
You're doing so well.
I'm very comfortable as the moderator.
You're doing so well.
But Tavis, you asked great questions, so at some point I'm gonna
I
ask
got
you.
some for you. Yeah.
Okay, but I hear what you're saying, but what we're experiencing right now in 2023 is this incredible retrenchment, this incredible, some people call it a white lash, some people call it a backlash, where in 2020 we had the racial justice, the quote-unquote reckoning, and I have a number, more than 1,100 organizations committed a total of $200 billion to racial justice initiatives between June 2020 and May 2021.
Yeah.
Yes, they lied. But what is happening now is it's not just that they're getting quiet on what they pledged, they're going backwards. I was on a Zoom with a multicultural ad agency the other day, and they said, our clients don't want to do multicultural stuff right now. They're not interested in black and brown and BIPOC and all that stuff. They don't care. So even though the demographics say otherwise, there is still a commitment to not supporting black media, black people, black organizations. So, and we know, we've been doing this work. This work started in 1827 with Freedom's Journal, the first black newspaper. And so, and the struggles are the same now that they were in 1827.
Yeah.
So I hear you, the minority, demographic shift, but it's not connecting with corporate media, corporate advertisers, et cetera, et cetera.
So here's my question for you then, if I can. First of all, a preface. I didn't say they were going to go gently into that good night. I didn't say it's going to happen with ease. It's going to happen with some dis-ease, right? It's not going to be easy. And there are going to be folk who hold on to that old trope, those old tropes and that old narrative. So it's not going to be easy. But my question to you is, if the data, again, is unassailable, if it's incontrovertible, if those numbers are real, for those content producers, for those product producers who ignore that we are a multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy, air quotes, what do? They may be fighting now, but how long can they do that? How long can they hold out in that regard?
I mean, is that really a question for me?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, this is your business. This is your business.
Well, I mean, this is what I know.
Right.
Is that we're going to continue to do the work that we need to do to serve the community that we need to, that our people.
Right.
But it's really, it's very much mission driven, and it's because there are so few other entities that are prioritizing Black people. So like you said, and like Cody said, like a lot of people said, if we aren't here, there are a lot of things that don't get covered, don't get said, and there is so much wisdom in our community, and that's what I love about Black Talk Radio is it's this thing called wisdom democracy.
Yeah.
We create space for people. It doesn't matter whether you have a degree or a label or a title. You can pick up the phone or dial into Facebook or whatever and express yourself. And that is very liberating. And one of the things that I think we're in a battle for right now is culture. And we, media, are powerful culture shapers. And that is, I think, very dangerous for some people. They perceive it as dangerous. But it's absolutely essential because we know Black people are cultural makers.
Yeah.
We've been at the forefront of cultural shaping and making forever. So go ahead, Melanie.
I was going to ask you a question.
Oh, okay. Now I get a bunch now.
Right. So when you say we are in a battle for our culture, go there.
Well, I think I think that all of this, like anti-woke, like book ban, I think that there is a battle for claiming the narrative around what is American culture and what is acceptable and progressive Black ideology is seen as a threat. And so that I think is a part of shutting down access to Black history.
So I rarely call in or get on my own radio station. I rarely do. And the woke movement caused me to call into my own radio station, right? Because, and this is why we're important. I'm saying all this is leading somewhere. For people to take something that Black women basically adopted because we had come into our strength. We started understanding our power, whether it was spending money or whatever it was, we were woke. That's what woke was for us. It was us who started woke. And for the Republican Party to take it and weaponize it, I find egregious. It is unconscionable, right? And so the reason why what we're doing is important is because we have to keep poking the bear. We've got to keep waking the sleeping giant. When Black women get mad about that, when we say, you're not taking that. You go find you another word. How about sleep? How about sleep for you? You sleep, right? Find another word. But we taking back our word, and to prove that we're taking back our word, we're heading to the poll, or we're going to withhold our money, or we're going to do something to show you our power because we are powerful, right? But it's us telling our folk that we are powerful, right? And so that same feeling that I feel about protecting the word woke for myself, I feel it about my money. I feel it about my spending power. I feel it about advertisers who, that's why when they started, it made me uncomfortable, the whole thing that they got into, Tavis, when George Floyd died. I thought it was the most patronizing thing now we had to take advantage of it, right? But it's patronizing because the same people that I had talked to in 2010 about spending money with me was the same people that were there 2020. Oh, what can we do? I want you to do the same thing I asked you to do in 2010.
Exactly. Yeah.
My blackness does not change. My culture, my relevance, it just does not change. It's not negotiated. It's not gonna change in 2027. I'm gonna still be this girl demanding my seat at the table and my right for these dollars because I don't pay less taxes because I'm black. Matter of fact, I think I'm paying more. That's just me.
It's a black tax.
It's
Black tax.
I think I'm paying. So I don't have a problem going to the table and asking for what is rightfully mine and providing this forum for our people to know what's rightfully mine. But we got to educate them. That's why we got to keep talking about it. And as Tavis said, it's not going to happen overnight. But the demand is not going to change. You know, it'll be next year, another George Floyd just might happen in this country. Right? You gonna come back and lie again on the promise that you made that you did not keep? No. We just have to keep fighting, keep demanding. It's an ugly job, but somebody's got to do it.
I just want to quickly
Yeah.
just connect, since I'm in the middle anyway, connect the two things that you and Melody are talking about. What I suggested earlier about the demographic data that makes it clear that it's just a matter of years before we are a majority minority country is precisely the reason that you're seeing the pushback you talked about. Mm-hmm. The pushback on woke, the pushback on the book bans, all of that is happening because when you can't change the game, what do? You change the rules.
Yeah.
So they can't change the game. The game is what it is. The numbers are real. Real as rain. It's happening. So you can't change the game, so you change the rules. So all the rules of engagement right now, and that's why we see this intensity around all of these issues, because they see that demographic shift happening. What we got to do, as somebody once said, is to stay on the wall. We got to stay on the wall, keep fighting the good fight that we're fighting, and just know that, again, that telling of truth eventually is going to work to our advantage, if not overnight, in due time.
So this is probably my last question, although I was just told that Sharpton's a minute away. We'll see. We'll see if he comes. But if he comes, this is a question that I think he could speak into as well. But let's get it started. So obviously, you know, we are right on the precipice of the 2024 presidential election. You know, we are seeing a global trend towards authoritarianism, like all over the world. You know, we're seeing Donald Trump with like as many indictments and he's got people flipping on him. He's like as much in the crosshairs as you could possibly be in terms of being criminally like found guilty and all of that stuff. Yeah. But yet he's the lead for the Republican presidential nomination. And we've got, so I want you all, and I want us to talk a little bit about what is the role of Black talk radio, Black media, in this pivotal moment where, and we're in Pennsylvania, which is a swing state. Philadelphia is incredibly consequential because of the demographics here, and what we do impacts the way the whole state goes. Yeah. But there are also a lot of people who, Solomon was talking about the other day, that, there are more and more Black people, Black men in particular, who are lining up next to Trump. And so,
what's that about, Tavis?
What's that about, Tavis? You know it's not Black women. You notice that.
Since you in the middle,
y'all too smart for that. Yeah.
We are very, very consistent.
Yeah.
What is that about, though?
It's it's a good question. So I think you probably saw, we discussed it on my show this week, I think a couple of times. I think most of you probably saw that poll that came out on Monday of this week that just scared everybody. Yeah. The New York Times Siena poll, speaking of Pennsylvania, that found that Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden a year out in 5 or 6 of the key battleground states. So a year to go, that's a lifetime in politics, but these polls keep saying the same thing. There's a pattern here. So that Trump is leading Biden in 5 or 6 of these key battleground states, and that's not good, obviously. But to Melody and to Sarah's point, that poll also found that in these battleground states, Trump is now polling at 22% of the Black vote. 22% of the Black vote. That's not all men, Black men, but it is predominantly Black men. And there's a challenge there, and we need to address that. But those poll numbers are just are damning in a variety of ways. I think, to me, it says at least three things. I don't put all my faith and confidence in polls, particularly a year out. In politics, that's a lifetime. Because that poll also, they put this in the fine print. In the very fine print of that poll, they also tell you that the respondents made very clear to the pollsters that if, in fact, Donald Trump is convicted, it changes their point of view about whether or not they can vote for a convicted felon to be president of these United States. So there is a silver lining, if you will, or an addendum to that, which leads me to say to all the prosecutors in all these cases, put your foot on the accelerator, and let's get a couple convictions, so we don't have to deal with that. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that we've got to be willing to hold. Is that rare?
Yes.
Oh, he right on time then.
We need some theme music.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Reverend Al Sharp. Reverend Alfred C. Sharp.
That's what I know. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're on the question that's just right for you.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, we are so happy to see you. Reverend Al, where are you coming from, Reverend Al? New York?
Yeah, I just came down from New York, a lot of traffic, and
Yeah,
we
and
got a little...
he's coming specifically for our event. He is so busy. I mean, and honestly, like for me, this is like the Academy Awards, the Grammys. To have all of the Tavis and Melody and Al Sharpton together, that's like a win for me. So I know that, and I want you to finish your thought.
Please.
But I know that Reverend Al, he came all the way down here for our event, and he doesn't have a whole lot of time. But Reverend Al.
Thank you. Well, now let me say this, and I was determined to come, even if I could only stay a few minutes. There's some situations in New York that you'll hear about, and I got to go right back. But the power of black radio and black media is something that I think we do not take with the right seriousness. If we look at what has happened over the last 30 years, whether it was Harold Washington in Chicago because of WVON, whether it was black mayors and now you have a black woman because of WURD, whether it was the state of black America with Tavis, none of that would have happened. I mean, we can have our agreements and disagreements, but if nobody is putting it out there with a bullhorn, then we're just arguing in the living room at home and nobody cares.
Right.
And I think that what I wanted to say, what we've been able to do with National Action Network and other groups, we could not have done without black media. People ask me all the time how we call a march and get so many people, because I'm on black radio. You cannot use other people's force to drive your people. Way before a cable station would even think of giving me a show, less known 2 a week, my national exposure was Tavis in State of Black America. And he and I can agree and disagree on issues, but there was never State of Black America he didn't put me on the stage when white folks was calling me a bunch of names. I think Tavis liked it when they was calling me a bunch of names.
No.
No, I think it appealed to your blackness to say, I'm gonna stand up. Same thing with URD. Melody fought to put us on in Chicago. So what I'm saying is what I think a lot of people that have gotten some national currency should be here saying is that we would not be where I would not be where I am in terms of an audience if it wasn't for black radio and black media. And what we have failed to do, which we had started years ago and we need to pick back up on, is force people to do business with black media. We act like that it is some inept part of black media that has caused a decline. It is a decline of investment of advertising dollars and projects that has declined. When you look around the people that are making money in Philadelphia with black consumers, look at all of the black folk in town, and they're not buying ads on WURD. We need to tell them that if you're not on URD, you're not going to enjoy our consumer dollar. Same thing in Chicago. We've stopped leveraging our dollars. And if we do not make them advertise with us, they cannot pay their staffs, they cannot upgrade technology, because they will tell you in a minute, well, we have got more black folks that will support our TV stations and our radio stations. No, they're not going to tell you the truth that needs to happen. And I think that we need to really energize a national campaign like we've done with the Madison Avenue Initiative to deal with black advertising. Same in LA. Tavis just bought a radio station there. Where are the big moguls buying ad spots? So we have a voice. And if we don't pay for our voice, and we do pay, I'm not talking about by going with our dollars, I'm saying by making the people we shop with understand that there's a price with our dollars. You got to advertise in our media. Secondly, a lot of our black billionaires that are getting deals because we fight for them, they need to be investing in black media. There are many of them that I'm fighting right now, getting them to be asset managers and all. They don't put a dime in black media. And they run up always running in these cable stations. We need to support black media. There is no reason in the world with this 24 election, and Biden and Harris cannot win without the black vote, but it's got to come through the black media. They're having a convention in Chicago. The home station ought to be WVON. If we don't demand it, they're not going to volunteer it. Right. And we need to demand it. We need to say we don't hear you unless we hear it through our radio. People said when I got the MSNBC show, and I've been on 12 years this August, but they said, well, he ain't gonna be at rallies no more in Harlem. I maybe missed 3 Saturdays a year. I'll be there in the morning after I get through this mess tonight, the mess I got to deal with in New York. And they said he gonna do on black radio. I'm still on 6 days a week. I've not left black radio because my base, I know where I am. You stand on the floor, you don't stand on the roof. You try to reach the roof. And I think that if everybody would do that, we'd be a lot better off. So I wanted to come down, even though y'all got all this traffic when I did get in town. But I wanted to say this because I think what you've done and your family with WURD, what you've done in your family from Purvis, Spann to them, if I couldn't ride a couple of hours, even though I got to go back to pay homage to people who gave us a mic. And Tavis, we don't always have to agree, but there would not be black empowerment in this country if it wasn't for Tavis Smiley. He gave us a microphone when we had no other outlet, and we owed it to that. So y'all forgive me for running, but remember I came, and I had to say that for them. Thank you.
Go handle the business. I love you.
Final thought, final 30 seconds just to wrap it up.
Congratulations. Thank you for inviting me. I would have not missed this for anything. And I want WURD, we're going to be here in 10 years celebrating your 30. If you got nothing but runway. And thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Melody. Tavis.
Somebody once said that every race of people ought to be judged by the best they've been able to produce. And the Lomax family and URD are among the best that our community has ever produced. And I encourage you, not that you need it, but keep supporting WURD, keep supporting black media. And I am honored to be here. I'm like Melody. LA to Philadelphia ain't a short flight, but there's no place else I'd rather be tonight than celebrating with you, WURD. We love you, and there ain't nothing y'all can do about it.
All right. Well, we love you back. Thank you so much, Tavis Smiley, Melody Spann-Cooper. I think we got some follow-up to do because we got to do some collaboration. Philly, Chicago, LA, those are three powerful markets. And so I think we can collaborate and make some magic. All right, thanks everyone. Don't go away. We got Carol Riddick coming up.